Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis has pleaded for a stop to the bloodshed in Myanmar. Following his Sunday Angelus address to the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square, the Pope expressed his sorrow for events occurring in the country. He recalled attacks on places of worship, including the recent destruction of the Church of Our Lady of the Assumption in Chanthar. It is one of the oldest and most significant places of worship in the nation. The Pope expressed his closeness to suffering civilians and hoped for an early resolution of the conflict so that a new era of forgiveness, love and peace may be ushered in. The Pope also decried the violence in Ukraine and in Peru, while expressing his hope that steps toward peace can continue to come out of Cameroon. Meanwhile, Cardinal Charles Bo of Yangon, Archbishop Marco Tin Wan of Mandalay, and Archbishop Basilio Athai of Tongai have made an impassioned call for peace in their nation, saying that all of us need to walk the pilgrimage of peace. A 72-year-old resident of Hemet in California has been identified as the individual who shot dead 10 people and injured 10 others in a dance studio in Los Angeles on Sunday, that being the eve of the Chinese Lunar New Year. Hu Chan-tran shot himself in the head in the parking lot of a mall after committing the acts. US law enforcement officials are investigating the motive behind the crimes. According to the Associated Press database on mass killings in the US, the tragedy marked not only the fifth mass killing in the country since the year's beginning, but also the bloodiest since the 24th of May last year, when 21 people were killed in a school in Uvalde in Texas. On January the 20th, a sea of pro-life advocates gathered on the National Mall in downtown Washington, D.C. to participate in the annual March for Life. It was the first protest conducted after the US Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which had made abortion legal nationwide in 1973. Pro-life advocates, however, voiced their alarm over the continued practice of abortion in the country. The march's organisers promised to hold the gathering each year until all the states have outlawed abortion completely. Jean Mancini, who is the head of the March for Life Education and Defence Fund, said to the crowd, "Although this year represents our biggest triumph, the abuse of human rights by abortion is far from done, and we will keep marching until abortion's violation of human rights is history." The US Supreme Court has announced that it has failed to find the person responsible for the leaked draft opinion overturning Roe v. Wade. A joint statement released by the Supreme Court and Marshal of the Court said the investigation has not been able to positively identify the culprit, despite concluding that it is unlikely the court was hacked and narrowing the search to 82 employees who had access to electronic or hard copies of the draft opinion. The statement concluded that it was not possible to determine the identity of any individual who may have disclosed the document or how the draft opinion ended up with political media outlet Politico. The FBI is offering a $25,000 reward to sources who can provide information about the suspects responsible for a spate of attacks on pro-life pregnancy resource centres. The Bureau said in a news release it can investigate the crimes as potential acts of domestic violent extremism, Freedom of Access to Clinics Entrances Act, or violent crime matters, depending on the facts of each case. The attacks occurred between March in 2022 and July of that same year in 8 different states. The Vatican Secretary for Relations with States and International Organizations, Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher, has appealed for peace in Ukraine. At a conference titled The Weapons of Diplomacy on Thursday, the Archbishop said that we must keep alive the ideal of peace and the idea that this war will end, even if it will not be the end imagined by President Zelensky of Ukraine or President Putin of Russia. Romano Prodi, the former president of the European Commission, attended the event in Rome, which was hosted by the network of Italian UNESCO. Archbishop Gallagher said that mercy is the only thing that can free people from the bonds of hatred and retaliation. Hundreds took part in the funeral mass of a Nigerian Catholic priest who was burnt to death by bandits in Niger State. The burial of Father Isaac Achi of St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in the Palkoro local government area of Niger State was attended by some 500 priests and political figures in Nigeria on Friday. The Mass was offered by Bishop of Mina Diocese Martins Ozukwu and his auxiliary bishop Sylvester Gopper. The murder of Father Achi has been mourned by the Christian Association of Nigeria, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria, and the nation's entire Catholic faithful. The Christian Association of Nigeria said that Father Achi earned his place as a committed servant of God and minister of the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ. Pope Francis gave a video message to young people from all over the world on Friday as they prepare to attend World Youth Day in Lisbon in Portugal. The Holy Father mentioned that more than 400,000 young people had signed up to attend the event from August the 1st to the 6th. Pope Francis noted that although some individuals may believe they are visiting as tourists, there is certainly a more compelling motivation behind their choice. The Holy Father said any young person who attends World Youth Day does so because deep down he or she has a want to take part in, share, tell their story, and hear others' stories. He continued by saying that World Youth Day gives young people the ability to see beyond and broaden their horizons. The annual Holy Land Coordination Pilgrimage, which gathers several bishops from North America and Europe, came to an end last Thursday. The bishops praised Christian communities in Jordan, the site of this year's pilgrimage, for their social outreach, and urged further support from other countries in a statement they issued after their tour. The bishops expressed their gratitude for the numerous vibrant parish communities they had come across. Christian schools in particular were hailed by the 13 bishops as places of growth and contact amongst faiths. They also highlighted how young Christians remained dedicated to the nation and its churches in the face of severe social and economic obstacles. They also praised Christians' care for those with disabilities and their work creating bridges of hope connecting communities. The bishops commended organisations that offer humanitarian aid to those fleeing war and violence in other parts of the Middle East, saying that they are inspired by the gospel to uphold human dignity and defend human rights. According to a spokesman of Nigeria's Makurdi diocese, at least 11 individuals, the majority Catholic, were killed on January the 19th by armed Fulani herdsmen. Father Moses Andover Yorapu, the diocese vicar general, described the horrifying persecution that Catholics endured during the attack. He said, "Not even ISIS is capable of such violence." The herdsmen killed some people and severed their heads. Father Andover reported that the attacks happened on Thursday night at about 9 p.m. in a community close to Makurdi, the capital of Benue State, where there is a camp for displaced people. The Muslim Fulani herdsmen have been in conflict with Christian farmers over grazing land, aggravating the internal security crisis in the country. A Catholic missionary priest serving in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has said that insurgents are attacking wealthy houses in the eastern part of the country, forcing people to flee. On January the 20th, Father Marcelo Fonseca Oliveira said that rebels are sowing terror in North Kivu, forcing people to abandon their homes and seek shelter in the forests. Father Oliveira, who belongs to the Comboni Missionaries of the Heart of Jesus congregation, said this is part of an agenda to make people flee and forcibly take over lands where there is great wealth. There are dozens of armed groups in the eastern part of the country, and in spite of the presence of troops belonging to the United Nations and the East African Community Regional Forces, they continue to terrorize local populations. A South Sudanese prelate has said that the upcoming visit of Pope Francis to the country has great significance for his homeland as it yearns for peace. Bishop Stephen Inyodo Ador Majwok of Malakal Diocese said the visit of the Holy Father is equally significant for his flock, as the area covered by his diocese is greatly affected by violence. Violence in the country triggered the exodus of 3 million people. The bishop said it is imperative that they all return, and for that, peace is a requisite. He expressed hope that the papal visit makes an impact on all segments of society. Pope Francis will visit the country from February the 3rd to the 5th. Pope Francis recently donated life-saving medicines to Sri Lanka, which is reeling from a crippling economic crisis and an acute shortage of essential items. On behalf of the Holy Father, Apostolic Nuncio Archbishop Brian Udaigwe handed over supplies of the drug tacrolimus, which is crucial to treating kidney patients. The supplies donated by the Pope are worth more than $30,000. This drug is in short supply in Sri Lanka, where thousands perish because of kidney ailments every year. Caritas Sri Lanka coordinated the delivery by working with the ministry. While handing over the supplies, the Apostolic Nuncio said that the Pope was concerned about the situation in the island nation. The drug will be distributed in hospitals across the central, northern and southern provinces. Pakistan's parliament has amended its blasphemy law, sparking alarm among Christian leaders and rights groups who fear it could stoke rights abuses and be used to target religious minorities. On January the 17th, the National Assembly passed the Criminal Laws Amendment Bill, increasing punishment for insulting the Prophet Muhammad's companions, wives and family members to 10 years, along with a fine of 1 million rupees. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again tomorrow for more. And do remember, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.